Hello, happy new year, shiny people. I'm Allie from Geek and Faerie Tarot, and I'm here to bring you, I know I'm a little late, I fell behind, but better late than never, here to bring you your monthly tarot forecast for the month of January 2019. This month, I have decided to use my Shadow Hunters Tarot. I don't think I've used this deck for a monthly forecast yet, but I'm so excited to use it. I know I've used it on my Facebook page for those weekly pick a card posts that I do. Now, if you're not familiar with Shadow Hunters, it is a series, multiple series of books by Cassandra Clare. She's created this world, and one of the races within the world are called Shadow Hunters. And I'm pretty sure this is officially licensed deck, because her official artist, I can't remember, the artist's name is also Cassandra. Her last name is escaping me right now. But anyway, this is a great deck. I love the books. There's a new trilogy coming out. I just saw her on Twitter. She announced it. So I'm so excited. I can't wait I still got to get through her last trilogy because her latest book just came out. I'm fangirling right now. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Okay, let's start with the forecast. So, card number 1. I'm sorry about the lighting, you guys. It has been dark and gloomy, and I've been waiting for a brighter day with better light, but it just doesn't seem to be coming, and it's not getting any better, so no more excuses. I had to start making this video. Card number 1 is the Page of Rings with the character Gabriel Lightwood. Now, this card came up reversed. This is the card that represents the energy that we're bringing into the month. This is how we're starting the month. We've carried it through from the previous month into this month. And Gabriel Lightwood, the Page of Runes. Now, Gabriel Lightwood was a character who had to start over in many ways, so it makes sense with it being January and a whole new year, and for many people they see this as an opportunity to start over, kind of a clean start. Gabriel's story was, his father had done some horrible things and sort of ruined the reputation of the Lightwood family, and Gabriel and his brother had to work really hard to restore the good name of his family, to restore the reputation, and he had to make a difficult choice. He had to choose between loyalty to his family and his bloodline, or loyalty to his morals and what he knew was the right thing to do. And it was a tough choice, so he ultimately had to abandon his father and do the right thing. And then once his father had passed, there was kind of this big humiliation, and him and his brother, as I said, they kind of had to start over. They had to rebuild that family name and reputation. So what does this mean for us? So I feel like this is a time to start over. Now, the card is in reverse, so it is starting over. Pages are always about, new beginnings, starting at the beginning, starting fresh, having to learn, starting over. So you're back to the bottom, whereas you may have been at the top. It doesn't mean you necessarily have fell, but you've just entered a new phase. So of course, when you're entering a new phase, you start at the bottom. It's kind of like graduating from like elementary school and then going to high school. And so you were at the top and now you're at the bottom. Doesn't mean that you've gone backwards. You're still going forwards. It's just you're at a beginning of a new phase. So we're at this state of beginning. We know that we need to leave things behind. We know that there's things we can't go back to. But I feel like probably for many of us, we're lacking direction as to where to go from here. Like there's not sort of a clear path in front of us as like, oh yeah, that's the direction I need to go. So we're kind of feeling like a little bit stuck in limbo. All we know for sure is we can't go backwards. We can't go back where we came. We have to leave that behind. We have to say goodbye. We have to move on. We have to let it go. But where do we go from here? So that's sort of where we're at right now as we enter the month of January. The second card I pulled is the King of Runes, featuring the character Mark Blackthorn, and the rune here that's featured is the Sure Strike rune. There's a couple things about this card that stand out to me. So this is our challenge. This is our obstacle for the month of January. And so the Sure Strike, let me start with the rune. The Sure Strike rune is a rune that a user would tattoo on himself or herself to make sure that they stayed on their feet, that it prevented them from falling over or collapsing during combat. So they stayed balanced, they stayed upright, they stayed balanced. And as a king, so this is kind of like you've mastered the ability to balance, and the suit of runes sort of takes the place of the suit of cups. So the King of Cups would be somebody who balances head and heart. They've kind of mastered that. But I feel like the challenge here is we're getting a little bit too sentimental. There's a lot of emotional connection or emotional attachment to whatever it is that we are leaving behind that we can't seem to get over. And it could be that because of this kind of cloudiness, fogginess, that we don't really know where we're going, there's so much temptation to dwell on what was. And that emotion is just adding to the fog. It's adding to the cloudiness. It's adding to the tension that is keeping us from going forward. All this emotion and overwhelm is kind of knocking us off our feet. So we can't stay upright. We can't stay on our feet. The Sure Strike rune is not working for us at the present moment. We kind of have to find our way back on our feet, find our stability again, because right now I think we're not as emotionally stable as we could be. Keep that in mind when thinking about challenges for the rest of the month. Now, the last card, another reverse card, is the Nine of Steles, featuring the character Will Herondale. Now, Will was a character who put a lot of distance between himself and other people. So here we have this fence or this barrier, and he stayed on one side of that, and he kept everybody else at a safe distance. And he did that because he believed that he was cursed. He believed that anybody whom he loved or loved him back would die. That's what he believed. A demon had put a curse on him, so he didn't want anyone to love him, so he was kind of cold and distant and cruel just to keep everybody safe. And he believed that for many, many years. He left his family. He just ran away from home to try to protect them. He wouldn't get involved with the girl he fell in love with because he was afraid that she would then become this target of death. And he carried that with him for a really long time before he found out that the curse was never real. It was all in his head. And so this card came up reversed. And I feel like if it was upright, it might be about building barriers, building walls. But I feel like our action for the month of January is to tear those walls down. It's about choosing to be vulnerable over being paranoid. I think there's this risk this month about letting our emotions run too wild, our imaginations run too wild, and we start to become a little bit fearful and a little bit paranoid. So tear those walls down. You really want to question your beliefs this month. What beliefs do you have that are holding you back, that are keeping you in the past or keeping you from moving forward into the future? So a little bit deep, it's a little bit heavy this month, but that is our forecast. Now, a little bit lighter, a little bit more good news. I drew our affirmation for the month from the Good Tarot, and our card this month is the Six of Water. So let me read from the book. If I am being triggered to remember the past, I can enjoy the warm memories, but must recognize that they are ephemeral. Emotion can color my recall and distort my understanding of what is happening today. I acknowledge and heal old wounds. I can experience security today, enveloped in the arms of divine love. There is no need to return to the illusion of a golden era of yore because I can begin co-creating a better reality right now. Authentic healing and joyfulness will be mine if I stop rekindling the emotions of the past. So there you go. It's just another perfect card, totally random draw. So in summary, we know we're on this brink of a new beginning. We know we have to start over. We know there's something new coming. We know we have to walk away, leave something behind. We just are a little unsure of where to go from here, and that's okay. We'll figure it out. It will all work out. Be wary of your emotions and letting your emotions get the better of you. Being too attached and not sort of moving through. I mean, some of us may be going through some kind of grief as we move away, move past. That's fine. Feel it, experience it, but you've got to heal. You can't keep letting that pull you back, pull you back, pull you back. That's going to be a challenge for a lot of us through the month of. So you want to remember, you want to be on your feet. You don't want to get knocked down. Now, the other thing, too, I noticed in this card, I forgot to mention earlier, was the shackles. Now, Mark Blackthorne had his fair share of being shackled, being sort of tied to something or someone. He didn't really have a lot of freedom in his life. He always had somebody dictating who he was or who he was supposed to be, and he didn't really have a lot of freedom of choice in his life for a very long time. So he was shackled to the fairies. He's half fairy, half shadow hunter, and neither race really accepted him. He never really fit in with either race. So he had a hard time figuring out who he was, and he was always being tossed back and forth, banished from one to the other. And then there was, he was also shackled. He had a fairy curse put on him, and he was shackled to a character named Christina. That's a whole other story, but a lot of shackles. So there's a lot of this being tied to something. So what we have to do is although breaking that shackle is going to make us feel vulnerable because we're exposed, we have more freedom. Maybe there was some sort of security in being stuck to something or stuck with something. And that freedom now is a little bit overwhelming, a little bit scary, but it's what we need to do. We need to question those beliefs that are holding us back, that are holding us down. Just like Will had that belief that he was cursed, that he couldn't love, or else people would be hurt by his emotional attachment, and he had to realize that that was all fake, it was all false, and it was holding him back from living his life to the fullest. So there you go. There is your forecast for the month of January. I wish everybody a fantastic year. I hope all your goals and dreams come true, become realities. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. If you have the Shadowhunters deck, or you're a fan of Shadowhunters and you're thinking about purchasing this deck, I have a Facebook study group for this deck because it doesn't come with a guidebook. So you can find me on Facebook if you search for Shadowhunters Tarot Study Group. Come join us and we can talk all about the Shadowhunters Tarot. And until next time, guys, keep sparkling and stay shiny. Bye!